let's get started. Need to put in my headphones first. Okay. So, I have a little bookshelf of things with all my books up on the other side of my little apartment. So which are kind of difficult to get to on a daily basis. And for me, I believe that the things that I have within reach are the things that I will, tend to use or read in this case with all these books. So the books that I am currently trying to read, I will leave on my coffee table, which I think sort of encourages me to read them whenever I'm, sitting down having tea or whatever I feel, whatever I'm doing. Anyways, let's start. Here we have Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence. Oh, very old book. Many of these are from my parents' house, the back room of my parents' house, from my grandfather or my grandmother, both of which were very sort of into literature, and my mother as well, so we have some of her things and stuff too. So yeah, D.H. Lawrence. I heard about for his book Lady Chatterley's Lover, and I just recognized the name in the back room, so I decided to take it for myself because it would have just sat there if I didn't. I haven't actually started this one yet, but of course I'm hoping to. Let's see. There are no sort of sign names in this one. Sometimes my grandparents would have their names signed to them inside the books. But yeah, the first one. Sons and Lovers, my apologies, by D.H. Lawrence. Feel free to Google him. He has quite a good beard, quite a good beard. Anyways, moving on. We have this one actually started pretty recently. It is a biography of Lenin by Christopher Rice. Portrait of a professional revolutionary. Again, this is another one that I found in the back room of my parents' house. This one belonged to my grandfather because his name is signed in the front. But I feel like this one was hardly touched. As you can see, the pages are still very, very white, unlike some other old books, or maybe it's just like it's printed on fancier paper. But yeah, this feels almost untouched. It has been read before, I think, because there are some like underlinings of sections. But yeah, this was extremely well kept, and I just started it yesterday evening, and it's very interesting. I haven't really read any biographies before, so, and I mean Lenin, I think is kind of cool. I only know about him but because we did Animal Farm in high school in English, and of course that is sort of a what's the word? I can't think, like ace. Anyways, it's sort of based on that book by George Orwell. It's based on the Russian Revolution and the story of communism, and of course Lenin played a big part in that. So that's where my sort of very surface level knowledge of Lenin as a person comes from. So very interesting to read. His name was actually Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. Lenin, I'm guessing he gave to himself at some point. Of course, I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still in the first chapter when young Vlad is a child. Also, this gives some context to the one scene in The Big Lebowski. Perhaps my favorite scene, or at least the funniest scene for me in the film, and I go back to it quite often if I ever feel like having a laugh. It's the Donnie saying, "I am the walrus," whatever, the Lennon scene. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen the film. And Walter says, V.I. Lenin, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. And I knew his name was Vladimir. So I'd always known him as Vladimir Lenin, perhaps with the Ilyich. I didn't know where the Ulyanov came from, but that's actually his real name, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. So yeah, very interesting read so far. Next, we have a book that I actually bought myself at a bookstore. It is Mouse by Art Spiegelman. Very critically acclaimed graphic novel. As you can see, it won the Pulitzer Prize. This is something that I had heard about a lot, that it's like something that you have to read in terms of like graphic novels. And I decided to pick it up because it looked very cool, and the art style is also very sort of striking and beautiful. If you don't know, this book is about, we have Art Spiegelman, who is a character in the novel, speaking to his father, asking his father about what happened in the Holocaust, because his father, survived the Holocaust in Poland. So it sort of goes between Art speaking to his father in like the current day and depictions of the stories his father's telling, and it's very interesting, very good read so far. And I'm trying to read it very slowly because I think with some graphic novels I need to sort of rush through them and not sort of appreciate them as much. So for this, I'm like reading a chapter, taking a few days off, and then reading another one. But yeah, it's very good. I highly recommend it to anyone who is interested. Yeah, so that's Mouse by Art Spiegelman. Oh, next up we have Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I became aware of this book because of the song by Kate Bush. I sort of discovered Kate Bush. Well, I'd always sort of known her because my parents would play like Babushka in the car sometimes. But I sort of became a big fan of hers when I discovered the song Wuthering Heights off her first album in first year of university, and very quickly learning that it is based on this book, or rather Kate speaks from the point of view of a character in this book. I have not finished it. I am 89 pages in. Also, quite interesting. Very much in the, I don't know, what year was this written in? Again, these sort of, these old books with the yellowing pages, I love the sounds that they make very, very much, and the smell as well. Unfortunately, we don't have the advanced technology of smell-o-vision seen in Spy Kids 4, but you always have to imagine it, my dear friends. So this was written in the 1800s, which is the 19th century. I always have to think to like add one when you're saying whatever century it was. Like we're in the 21st century now. But anyways, that is besides the point. So yeah, very interesting sort of romance, sort of jumps between timelines again. I'm enjoying it. Sometimes I like reading. Oh, you'll notice I enjoy reading very old novels. for whatever reason. Again, this is one that I found in my parents' house. Was probably belonged to one of my grandparents from their collection. There were actually, I believe there were two that I saw, but I liked this one more. I think the other one is actually exactly the same, like the same cover, same edition, but I can't remember why I chose this one rather than the other. But yeah, Wuthering Heights, Emily Bronte. Next up, we have The Metaphysical Poets, a collection of poems. So, I haven't read every poem in this book, but I'm I read one every now and then. This is because this is way older. This is about like, what century? Let's see. I want to say like 1700, something like that. But it's like very, very old, very much written in Old English, so it sort of takes some time to decipher what's being said. Actually, I have my grandmother's writing in this one, which is quite cool. I can't read what she wrote here, but very cool nonetheless. Yeah, so like the 1600s is when many of these poems were written. I go to this sometimes when I feel like reading some old poetry. I do have a T.S. Eliot collection that wasn't on my table, so I don't have it here, but it's on my bookshelf. When I feel like sort of reading poetry without having to decipher all the old English. But yeah, again, the very sort of old, worn out paper sounds I enjoy very much. We have people like John Donne, which is who I was familiar with. I think we did a poem of his in high school. Thomas Randolph, who I'm not familiar with. George Herbert. I'm sure there's like Shaw. There I am going through like John Donne now. I'm seeing his name. But yeah, metaphysical poets. Very interesting. We have Richard Lovelace. See, not Richard Lovelace. I saw Lovelace. I know that Ada Lovelace, the very famous and incredible computer scientist, very influential. Her father was a poet. I think it was Richard Lovelace, or something like that. Or she is like the daughter of like Byron. I know her family is sort of involved in the world of like classical literature, but I'm not quite sure. Feel free to correct me in the comments. But yeah, anyways, that was the metaphysical poets. Love the artwork here. Speaking of artwork, my dear friends, we have this is sort of a classic, what you would expect to be like a coffee table book. It's a sort of collection of, it sort of loosely goes through the works of Toulouse-Lautrec, Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. I learned about him in art class in high school, and I like the style. It's very interesting. This is Moulin Rouge on the front, I believe, but yeah, it's wonderful to look at every now and then. He unfortunately died very young, but great artist. We have some great information about his life, and also some great prints of his works. Oh, that's beautiful. Again, wonderful book here on Toulouse-Lautrec. Okay. Next up, we have The Gambler and Other Stories by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. This was again found in my parents' house. Probably belonged to one of my grandparents. Anyways. This is one which I bought myself at a bookstore quite recently, like within the past few months. Yeah, I'd heard a lot of Dostoevsky. For The Idiot, I believe, was the main work that I'd heard about from him. And I really love his style, the sort of 19th century, I want to say. Yeah, sort of 19th century Russian writers I'm very into, so him and Chekhov. I have a collection of Chekhov stories in my bookshelf, which are also very good, but yeah. Lots of stories in here about sort of working class Russians, which are all very sort of witty and yeah, very witty, interesting, very fun. Yeah, I have not read The Gambler yet. I've been sort of jumping around the other stories in here because The Gambler is sort of a novella, so I wanted to finish off with that one. But very wonderful collection of stories by Dostoevsky. Oh, this is gonna be like the longest video I've had. But I hope you are enjoying it, my dear friends. Next up, we have a book that I bought secondhand at a sort of fair with my friends. I went, and there was sort of a pop-up bookstore, and this is something that I had been searching for some time. It is The Alexandria Quartet by Lawrence Durrell. I had heard about this quite a lot, and I sort of have always looked for it. I had seen previously, like in libraries and other bookstores, the individual stories, but I wanted all of them collected so I could read them in order. So I think I had seen like Balthazar standalone and like Justine, but never all of them. But this has all four of the quartet together, which is very interesting. I haven't really started reading it yet, but I was very excited to find this in that pop-up bookstore. I remember reading the foreword by Lawrence Durrell. It was very interesting, the preface. I really enjoyed. If I could find it. If I could find it. I'll just read this. I was already in. I knew I'd enjoy it when I just read this preface, but I'll just read like the first paragraph. This group of 4 novels is intended to be read as a single work under the collective title of The Alexandria Quartet. A suitable descriptive subtitle might be A Word of Continuum. In trying to work out my form, I adopted as a rough analogy the relativity proposition. My apologies. I have not read out loud in quite a long time. The first 3 were related in an intercalary fashion, being siblings of each other and not sequels. Only the last novel was intended to be a true sequel and to unleash the time dimension. The whole was intended as a challenge to the serial form of the conventional novel, the time-saturated novel of the day. Oh, I love that. So I knew that I would enjoy this quartet. But now, again, that was The Alexandria Quartet by Lawrence Durrell. Oh, it's actually a very uncomfortable position to be sitting in for like 20 minutes, but anyways. We are on to the last, the final book, which is The Sandman Overture by none other than Neil Gaiman. I got this at let me like page through it. I got this, I was at a sort of, not Comic-Con convention, but a convention for people who write comic books. I got a ticket from like an aunt or uncle, and I went, and I felt like I needed to buy something. I needed to buy something from this convention. I'd never really been to a convention before that, so I felt like I needed something to remember it by. And again, Sandman, another graphic novel which is like on the, oh, you should read this, it's very good, very highly acclaimed. And I'd been wanting to read it for a while. Well, Sandman, not really a graphic novel, a collection of comic books. I've wanted to get sort of a whole collection, like an anthology or omnibus for some time, and then I saw this. I was like, hey, Sandman, I should read this. But then I realized the salesman sort of persuaded me to buy it while I was looking at it, and he said, oh, this is the last one. That was what got me. He said this was the last copy that they had, and I was like, oh, I might as well buy it. But turns out this is sort of a prequel to the sort of main Sandman comics. It is not, in fact, them. And I thought they were. I thought this was like the first part. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't paying much attention. But still very good. Has lots of like extras in the back. And again, like I'm doing with Mouse, I'm going through it very slowly. Then hopefully after this, I can get a hold of a sort of collection or anthology of the Sandman comic book series, the main comic book series, and read that. But yeah, very, very beautiful artwork. I'll page through some of them. Lots of like fold out pages. Yeah. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. And that is, again, the Sandman Overture. Written by Neil Gaiman. Illustrated by Eisner Award winners J.H. Williams III and Dave Stewart. So yeah, those are all the books that I had on my coffee table. Thank you all for watching. Hope you're doing well. Hope you stay well. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.